we are going live right now and हम लोग आज आपका फर्स्ट जो यूनिट है MPPSC की उसका जो हमारा फर्स्ट चैप्टर में जो फर्स्ट हमारा टॉपिक है कैंटरबरी टेल्स उसको हम लोग पढ़ने वाले हैं एंड वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट दैट. सो आई विल बी होपिंग कि आप लोग आ जाएं ऑनलाइन. सो वी विल बी गुड टू गो एंड आई विल बी होपिंग कि आप लोग आएंगे. सो आई विल वेट फॉर 1 minute एंड आफ्टर दैट आई विल स्टार्ट. चलिए. So in today's class we are going to let's learn something and the topic is the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. चलिए. So if we talk about Geoffrey Chaucer, then it is very important to know about him, and he is being called as morning star of Renaissance. So Geoffrey Chaucer was born in England and was son of John Chaucer, who was a wine merchant, and John Chaucer was a good connection, has a good connection with royals because of his wine business, and that is what is fortunate for Geoffrey Chaucer. That is why he got into the royals easily. And Chaucer was was a person of great connection and a diplomatic skills, and because of that, he was sent on many missions by kings. And that is why, when his father was a wine merchant, he had some connections with the royals, and that is why it was very easy for Chaucer to be involved with the royals, and he got into the royal court, and he had good communication skills and diplomatic skills, and that is why he has been sent on many missions by the kings to handle some diplomatic missions only. Chaucer had written poetry under three reigns of kings and reign of three kings, and that is what is being asked in many exams. The first one is Edward II. He reigned from 1327 to 1377. Richard II 1377 to 1399, and Henry IV 1399 to 1413. So that is what we have to keep in mind. Chaucer got influenced by the French and Italian writers when he had gone in France and Italy to solve some diplomatic matters. When he traveled to these two places, the first one is France and the second one is Italy, he got to know about a few writers. And when he got to know about few writers, so what happened? He was very influenced with some writers like Boccaccio, Petrarch, and Dante. He read the works of Boccaccio like Decameron. He read Petrarch's sonnets, and he also read Dante's Divine Comedy, and all three works by all these writers has influenced him very greatly. And into his writings we can see that what kind of influence he had got from Boccaccio, Petrarch, and Dante. Now let's define that what kind of works he has written and what are the periods of his works. The French period, if we can see about the French period, we can got to know about two works. And remember, these are being asked in different exams, and you have to keep this in mind. In French period, he had written The Remount of the Rose, which was written in 1360s, and the other word is Book of Duchess. We will talk about these works sometimes else. And in Italian period, we can see he had written The House of Fame, which was written around 1374 to 1385. The Parliament of Fools. We do not have exact dates of these works, and that is why we have to keep in mind that this is being written around this sort of time. The Parliament of Fools, which was written around 1380 to 1390, Troilus and Cressida 1380s, and Legend of Good Women 1380s. So we have to keep these works in your mind, because these are being asked which work was written in at which period, and what kind of influence he had, and who has given him insights to write these words. English period, we have only one work. One of the famous works of Geoffrey Chaucer is Canterbury Tales. Now let's talk about French period. So now we are going to talk about the works which I have mentioned earlier, and we are going to look on them one by one. The first work is The Remount of the Rose, 1360s. It was a translation of a French poem, Roman de la Rose, written by two French writers, Léon de Loris and Jean de Meun. These two writers have written this original work. These two poets have written 40, 100, and 18,000 lines respectively. Chaucer did the translation of this poem as a Remount of the Rose, and this poem was a dream vision poem and was written in French. So when we have a word here which is dream vision, so you have to keep in mind that dream vision means you got to have a dream in your mind. You have seen the dream, and you are trying to write it down with your writings. This is being called as dream vision. Now let's talk about the other work, which is Book of Duchess. The poem was a elegy and was written on the death of Blanche in 1369, Duchess of Lancaster and wife of John of Gaunt, who was very fast friend of Chaucer, and he was also the patron of Chaucer, and he had requested Chaucer to write this poem. There are being several questions which are being asked in this work. The first question is that what is Book of Duchess? It is an elegy. On whose death it was written? It was written for that Blanche, whose wife was she? She was a wife of John of Gaunt, and who was the patron of Chaucer? He was John of Gaunt. So you have to keep these in mind. And if the question is being asked so deeply, then they are going to also ask you. It was written in octasyllabic couplets and Ottawa rima. So you have to keep all these things in mind because in exams, sometimes they ask these kind of questions. Now let's talk about other works. So this is Italian period. In Italian period, what we have, the first work is the House of Fame, which is a dream allegory. And the second point which we have to keep in mind is it is an octasyllabic poem. It is a satirical poem and inspired by Dante's Divine Comedy. These are the four questions which can be asked from this work, and I have given this in front of you. The second is the Parliament of Fools. It is a dream vision poem. It is written in rhyme royal, and it is about love and its time. This is a very important thing. Troilus and Cressida, it is the longest poem, complete rhyme royal. It is being written in rhyme royal. It has 5 books, and Robert Henderson wrote the sequel of the poem nominates named as Treatment of Precede. Let me tell you something. If you are studying with me and if you are reading all these slides, what you will have to see that the questions which can be asked from these slides you can see into your exam papers. If you are going to see any previous year paper, you will see that these are the questions which are being asked in the previous year exams. The Legend of Good Women, it is a very important poem. Dream Vision, an incomplete poem. Planned to write about 19 women legends, but he was able to write about 3 to 4 only. Now let's talk about English period, and we are going to talk about the main work, which is the Canterbury Tales, first work written in English language, and that is why Chaucer is being called as father of English literature. So, prologue to the Canterbury Tales. This is a very important thing to keep in mind because let me tell you something. In MPPSC or in any other exam, they are going to ask you questions from this particular prologue because this is very important. So the work is a description of some pilgrims going towards a pilgrimage. They are going towards a shrine, and the poem begins with the line April, beginning of the spring. The place where they are going, this is Tebard in the Southwark, London, Canterbury. Visit the shrine of Thomas a Becket. You have to keep in mind that whose shrine they are going to visit. Yes, Saint Thomas a Becket was martyred in Canterbury in 1170. This poem was written in Mid English dialect. This is being asked. The host of the pilgrimage was Harry Bailey. This is being asked. Total pilgrimage. This question has been asked in so many exams. You have to keep in mind always tick on the option which states that the number of pilgrimages is 30. Okay, less than 30 is not the right answer. Always MPPSC, UPPGT, and in other exams, always the answer is being corrected as 30. Harry Bailey proposes that every pilgrim should tell 4 tales, one on the way to the shrine and one other while coming back. So you have to keep this in mind. The host announces that the best tale will be given free meal at table or in on return. This is what being stated in Canterbury Tales. According to the thought of the nature, he had written 120 tales, but somewhat read only 24. So you have to keep in mind that he had planned to write down 120 tales, but he was only able to write down only 24 tales. Among these 24 tales, 2 tales that the tale of Person and Malaby were in prose, and the rest were in the verse. This is being asked that what are the 2 tales which are being written in prose. This question is being asked in so many exams, so you have to keep in mind the tale of Person and Malaby were written in prose, and the rest was in was. The first tale and the longest tale was of Knight's Tale, and the last was of Person's Tale. This is being asked. The number of pilgrims increased later on the journey when the canon's yeoman joins the journey. In this work, Chaucer had portrayed characters from every section of society. So you have to keep in mind that Chaucer, what he was doing with his work, that he was trying to portray that times English society, that what kind of sections were there and how they were being treated in the society, what is happening into the society. You have to keep this in mind. So the military people were the knight, the square, and the three women. Liberal professions were there: the doctor, lawyer, and the clerk. Connected with land over a franklin, a reeve, and a plowman. With trade, we have a merchant, a shipman, a host of the tabard. Crafts, we have wife of bath, carpenter, and a weaver. Related with religion, we have the monk, the friar, a prioress, chaplains, nun, three priests, a summoner, and a partner. We have all these people who was belong to a different sections of society. Chaucer had praised four characters immensely. The four characters are parson, plowman, clerk of Oxford, and the knight. And you have to keep in mind that the slide which you are seeing in front of you. Let me tell you something. All the questions, if are going to be asked from Canterbury Tales, you will find all the questions here, because I have made the slide with so much of precision. I have read all the previous year papers, and you will get to see all the questions from all the only these slides. You will be able to find every question in your exam. Now let's talk about other facts related to Canterbury Tales, which is very important. Tilius Eden's drama, The Murder in Cathedral, portrays the assassination of Archbishop Thomas Becket in Cathedral Canterbury in 1170. So if you will read Modern Cathedral by T.S. Eliot, you will see that he has portrayed the Thomas Becket's uh, assassination. The opening lines of the prologue of the Canterbury Tales, when the April with his showered shoot, is being used in T.S. Eliot's Westland. While describing the marvelousness of his this work, John Dryden quotes, "Here is God's plenty." This is being asked for so many times in different exams, especially in NTA, UGC, NET, and different assistant professor exams, that you have to keep this in mind. Canterbury Tales was a similar to Boccaccio's work, the Decameron, because Decameron also has some plan to write similar tales. 100 tales he has planned to write, but he was not able to do that. The most important tales among all of them were Knight's Tale, the Miller's Tale, the Reeve's Tale, the Wife of Bath's Tale, the Clerk's Tale, the Franklin's Tale, the Partner's Tale, the Prior's Tale, the Monk's Tale, and the Nun's Priest's Tale. So these are very important tales. So let's talk about the portraits of the pilgrims. Portrait of the pilgrims, that we are going to talk about the characteristics. So the knight, the highest ranking, chivalrous, he was very brave. 400 years wars, which was done before Chaucer, and it was going while Chaucer was alive. Also, does not boast his deeds. He was not someone who was egoistic, and who was very very pompous about his work. He was not able to boast any kind of his deeds. Old and have a lack of liveliness. He was old and he was not very lively. He was very monotonous towards each and everything. Now let's talk about the squire, son of the knight, a ladies' man. He was very handsome, sings songs and composes melodies, writes poetry and ride horses. This is what being asked in so many exams. Now let's talk about human, servant of king and squire, dressed in green and carries a long bow, excellent shot with the bow. He was good with his bow. The prioress, named Madame Ageltine, she has a gold brooch inscribed in Latin "Amor Vinci," which means love conquers all. Very mannerly, delicate, more ladylike. She is very mannerly. She knows how to sit, how to eat dinner on a table, how to dress. She knows each and everything. Keep her clothing clean and eat neatly. She is very focused towards it, how I should be seen in front of people, and she does that with utmost priority. She is a nun, but a lady first and foremost. She is a nun, but she wears makeup. She tries to look fancy. So these are not the characteristics of a nun, but she does that because she feels that I am a lady first, and after that I am a nun. The monk, he is an ironic character, because if we see that if we hear the word monk, then what we see that he is not going to sit into the world. He is going to do some duties of religious kind, but he is not like that. He loves hunting and eating fine food. He has fuffish clothes. He is fat, furry, and bald. His favorite food is roasted swan, and he owns dogs and horses and cares little for the rule. So that means, so the characteristics which is being mentioned by Canterbury Tales is that he is not someone who is very religious. He loves having good clothes. He loves having good food, which is roasted swan and something like that. Because the monk, and if we talk about Hinduism, if we talk about our culture, we see that the monks which we see are not living into their houses. They eat only very staple food, and they do not think about having the worldly luxuries only. Let's talk about the friar. The friar is a, his name is Herbert. He got license to beg and playing with the pity of people and fight religious. What he does that he is a friar. He goes to people, he asks for money, and he just, you know, it seems very helpless towards people that they will going to give you something. So this is what is being done by the fact. The merchant is a very important person. Actually he was in debt. He was shrewd and arrogant, boasting about profit. He was not having any kind of profit at that time while he was. But what he does is when he see people, he try to manipulate them by saying that I have a lot of money, and I I have a lot of money, and I do a lot of profits in my business. But he was not that good with his own money. Involved in illegal dealing with foreign army, and he was involved with illegal dealing with foreign army. So when you are seeing some characters like this, what you can see that these are the characters which are still true to that time also. We can see that these are this kind of characters we can see in today's scenario also. We can see some monks who are dealing illegally and who are not doing some religious works, they are doing other works apart from religion. We have merchants whom we see that they are very uh, like, oh, they have a lot of money, but the reality is that they do not have any kind of money and they are doing some illegal work. So we have a lot of things which are common in today's scenario also. Now let's talk about the doctor. He is a doctor, but he had love of gold, saved the income from black death, and depended on astrology. So if you can see the contradiction of being a doctor, and he is very dependent on astrology. So we can see that these all characters are not only the characters of that time, but they are true in today's sense only. And we can see that every character which is being seen here is not somewhat represents that time only of time of Chaucer, but they are also truly representing the today's time. Okay, a doctor is a very noble profession, but you will see that if someone is serving in a government hospital, he will go quickly from that particular place, and he is going to sit in his office, his own clinic, and he will earn some lot of money. So that is what is being shared here is true in today's scenario also. Wife of Bath, her name is Allison, and she is being married 5 times, and she had wide apart tooth, and this is being asked in exam. She is lusty. She is very lusty, and she is, she thinks that life is meant to be enjoyed, and that is why she had married 5 times, and she doesn't have any kind of regret in life. Refused to be dominated by men in marriage, and she does not believe that I'm going to be very submissive towards my husband. I'm going to be very oppressive, and I will try to take control. She has that kind of thinking in her mind. Deaf in one ear, she is not able to hear from one ear, and this character is being asked for so many times in exams that you have to keep this in mind. The Miller. Chaucer pays more attention to his physical appearance of Miller. Is big, stouty, browny, broad, and muscular. So you have to keep this in mind. Pardno, he has a great voice. He sells relics. Relics means these are very important religious antiques. They are very old. But what he does, he just finds for example, he will find a pebble, and he will say this is from Christianity and this is from Jesus' time, and this is very good for you. So what he do that he goes to people, he tell things like that in his sales. Very unworthy things to a lot of people in a very good amount. So he has some good kind of things to do, because he just fools people, he manipulates people, and he's greedy and drunkard. So these are all the characters which I have, and this is what is about Canterbury Tales. So I have given you a lot of things to keep in mind by in the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, and I hope you have learned something. So if you can come and watch other videos on this channel, and if you are preparing for assistant professor exam MPPSC, please do come really regularly, because I'm going to come regularly and we are going to learn a lot of things. So this is my humble request, and thank you so much for joining me and having with me, and we will be talking more about other topics. Please do join literature with MDT, which is my telegram channel, where you can come and you can find these notes, because this is very important, and this is not going to be very helpful in only MPPSC assistant professor exam. This is going to be very helpful in a lot of exams like NT UGC NET and other examples. So you have to keep this in mind, because This is what is very important. And come read regularly, be with me regularly, and we are going to do some wonders. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good day. Thank you so much. Jai Shri Ram. Bye bye. I think we had some problem with the things, but I think we have completed all the things. So we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good day. Thank you so much.